Hello, my name is Steve Capper, and for the next 14, maybe 15 minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of what I believe to be the 10 most important points that a technical person, often they're called pre-sales people or sales engineers, business consultants, the 10 most important concepts that I want them to have in their mind as they move through their career. So let's look at the first one. One of the first things that I begin to talk about is I want the technical people to realize that the vendor that they work for, that vendors don't have solutions. The most important solution that you need to understand is the solution that lives in the mind of the client. And that is far more important than your solution or combinations of products. So that's the first important point. The second point that I want technical people and salespeople and management as they watch this video, the second most important point is that I make a statement at the beginning of the class that says, I want you to stop talking to the customer. We've got to start listening to the customer. So stop talking to people and start to listen to people and give them the process and their understanding and the methodology to be able to do that. And unfortunately today in schools, people are not taught how to listen. And not only are they not taught how to listen, they're not taught how to ask questions. And I'm going to come to that point in a minute. So stop talking to the customers, start listening to the customers. The third point that I'd like to stress here in this small video is that knowledge talks, but wisdom listens. There's an old saying, talk is cheap. The problem with technical people is that they get to know their product and they'll know every feature and every function in that product. And unfortunately, in many cases, the customer says, can your product do this? And 5 minutes later, they're still talking about how it does it. Some of these technical people can talk underwater or talk under wet cement for hours about their product, and they must begin to change. They've got to begin to change and start listening to the customers. The next point that I'd like to discuss is that one of the roles of pre-sales people and sales engineers is that they must qualify their usage of their time. And qualify not in front of the customer, nor qualify the customer, but start to qualify the salespeople's request for their time. When technical consultants and pre-sales people get in front of the customer, things happen. It moves the sales cycle along. We don't want to be in a situation where we're doing show-ups and throw-ups. We don't want to be in a situation where we're presenting products. We've got to be in a position where before we present one product or one range of solutions, we must understand what the customer wants. And so the fifth most important topic that I'd like to quickly mention is I want technical people to stop loving their product. So stop loving those products because you're loving them to death. What I want you to do is start loving the effect your solution or your product has on the customer. So instead of talking about all the features and functions and how important they are, we've got to start to say, Mr. Customer, this is how other people use it. This is the business benefits they get from it. This is what happens when we do this. So people start to see the effect it will have on their organization. We've got to also understand more about the customer's business. So we've got to understand and ask planned, structured questions. not only what the customer's problems are, because that's easy, they'll tell you, but we've got to understand why they have those problems, which is also important. But perhaps the most important topic is, what is the business impact of a specific problem? For example, it's easy to talk about lack of performance. What is your problem? I have this problem and this is what happened. Why have you got the problem? What is the business impact? Well, the business impact is I might lose $100,000 every weekend because I don't have an ATM network. So the next topic I'd really like to talk about from a point of view of the inventory of what technical people need to understand is I want them to tell more customer stories in their interactions with the sales side. In other words, they've got to interact and say, this is how other customers utilize the product, and give stories in their presentation. At least 2 stories every 30 minutes to show how the product that they're talking about, or the solution, it brings the real world that's outside this room into their presentation room. And I'd like them also, which is the next major point, is to stop doing vendor presentations. I want them to start doing customer-centric presentations. Not talking about their products, but talking about, here is what we call a business impact solution. Even moving away from using the word presentation. Because in the word presentation there's a hidden word there, and the customer sees the word sales. So move away from utilizing the word presentations. Begin to talk about the business impact solution that we can deliver to your organization. The second last item that I'd like to talk about is that we must have more effective discovery and more effective discovery tools so that we can ask planned, structured questions that will lead to us understanding more about the problems of the client and why they've got the problems and the business impact, so that we can then align a business impact with our business solution, and the customer sees a business solution and not a product presentation or even a vendor presentation. So the objective, and perhaps the last topic, is for these technical people to become part of the selling team. And I'm sure you're all saying to yourselves now, oh, we're part of the selling team. But I want you to be part of the thinking in a sale, not a resource. Technical people, pre-sales engineers are not a resource of the salespeople. They're part of the team that qualifies the customer, part of the team that says, yes, Mr. Salesman, I'll go out on this call next week. Yes, as long as I find out who we're speaking to and the fact that I'm not going to do a presentation, it's going to be a discovery. So put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Understand more about why they are allocating this hour to you. So the last thing that I'd like to say is that pre-sales is the best job in the world. Being a sales engineer, best job you can ever have. Think more about your time. Deliver business impact solutions. Stop talking to people and start listening. Ask planned, structured questions. Qualify your time. And put yourself in the shoes of the customer and think more about your role and your responsibility. And remember those listening skills. When the customer finishes talking, wait another 2 seconds. Then give some information, and then make sure you get the ball back into the court of the customer so that the customer starts doing the talking. And remember, in any meeting you have with the customer, not a presentation or a business impact solution, but in any meeting, if we talk more than the customer, then that meeting is a failure. So, up here you'll see my email address. Don't hesitate to email me. Look at my website. My website is here. Have a look at that website. and make sure that you realise that pre-sales sales engineers have got the best job in the world. Thank you very much and goodbye.